So hi Jillian,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us here.
Not a problem.
Yeah, can you tell us? Let's start by talking about why you decided to start this shelter.
Well, the Uptown Ministerial Group realized that there was a need for shelter for homeless men, and so the minister of Grace Presbyterian Church, my church here, said that he thought we could do something. And when he brought it back to the congregation, I approached him and said I was very interested in it. I felt it was very worthwhile. And so in September we started having meetings, and then we opened in January.
And why did you see a need? What was the need exactly you thought was there?
Well, we knew that there were men who were sleeping under the bridge by the causeway, and the Booth Center, which is supposed to have emergency beds, has been filled almost as a residential area now, and so that we knew there was just nowhere emergency for men to get out of the cold. So we thought we'd try to fill that gap.
And when you opened it up, like what did you discover? What kind of men came through the door? What were their situations?
Well, we've had a lot of variable situations. We've had people who are traveling through the city and don't have any money, so there's nowhere for them to stay cheap. The Y used to have rooms, but of course it's closed, so there's nowhere now. So there's those types of men. And then we have men who have addictions. And we have gentlemen who have just gotten out of jail, and there's nowhere for them to go until they get their checks. So there seems to be a gap in low housing. And so we put them up. We've had men stay here. Gosh, we had one gentleman that was with us for almost a month and a half until we got him a situation where he can work for his rent.
And what's been the reaction of the men that have come through the doors here to the service that you're offering?
They're so grateful. They can't believe that we're all volunteers, that we're doing this just out of the goodness of our hearts. We feed them. We give them dry socks. We give them toiletries. They can get cleaned up. They have a warm, safe, dry place to sleep. We feed them breakfast, and we also give them a bag lunch. And we have hats and gloves and mitts and jackets if they're cold. So they've been so grateful. It's really rewarding. And they just appreciate that it's here, because there was nowhere for them before that. So they really enjoy coming and staying. And they've been wonderful about not taking advantage. When they have money, they go other places. And we have a great outreach person who has placed, I think it's 17 men have been either put in back with family, bus fare arranged for them to get to their destinations. She's found rooms, apartments, several of our gentlemen have gotten into detox because of her. So it's been great.
And that's a real success here, right? Because we're not just talking about giving men a temporary place to stay. It is trying to help them on to that next step.
That's right. We want to help them improve their situation and their lives, and they are so happy that we're helping them find places to live, because that's what they want. They want to get off the street if they possibly can. And we give them groceries, and we give them bedding, and we put out a call for furniture. So we've gotten couches and futons and beds and TVs for them to get set up in their places.
And actually, that leads me to my next question, which is about volunteers. You've had people donating things to the shelter, but you've also had a very dedicated small group of people coming in here and volunteering to supervise both an early evening shift and also an overnight. Can you talk a little bit about the volunteers?
The volunteers have been wonderful. They are very dedicated. We have different shifts. They can come in from 8 at night until 12, from 12 at night until 8 in the morning. We have some people who come from 8 at night until 8 in the morning. We also have other people who come in and help with breakfast and clean up, because we have to clean up the place when the men leave. And so we have a core group who are great, and I can call on them and they're here. So it's been really rewarding that way. to have our volunteers, and they come from everywhere. It's been amazing that once the word got out, I had people phoning and emailing and wanting to volunteer and help the men, and also donate all kinds of food and jackets and clothing, and it's been great.
And I also understand that it started with the shelter at -10 and below. That was the idea around the shelter.
Yes.
But you've ended up open quite a bit more than that.
Yes. Well, we had a group of probably, I'm going to say 8 men who were truly homeless and in dire straits. So when we opened, we had said it would be -10 weather that we would be open. But when the men started coming, they had nowhere to go. So even if it's -5, that's pretty cold to be out on the street. And if it's snowing or raining, it's not very pleasant. And so I took it back to my church organization and asked them if we could extend our hours. And the volunteers were more than willing, because nobody wanted to turn the men away. And so we opened January 4th, and up until last week, we were pretty much open every night that we had volunteers to be here, and we only had to close, I think, 4 times because we couldn't find people to spend. The hardest shift to fill is overnight. It's hard to give up your night when you have to work. We have to find more retired people to come. But other than that, we've pretty much been open. But now all of our regular men that are truly homeless in the city that we know about have been placed. So we're now back to -10 weather.
Now you're just wrapping up your first season here at the end of the month. What's the biggest thing that you've learned from being involved in this?
Well, first of all, the generosity of the community, and that people really want to help. They just don't know how. So once they found out about us and found different ways that they could help, they're more than willing to give in whatever way they can. Being here, we've had money donated and lots of goods and materials and food. And the other thing is the men, they all have a story. They all have issues, and mental health issues and poverty and homelessness and addictions. They're all so closely intertwined that we have to really address all of those issues in order to get these people off the street and to help them find success. But they're a wonderful group of men, and they truly want to improve their situation, and they just need a hand up. Mm-hmm.